Everybody can hear me. I'm in a park, and I came down from Hobble Creek Canyon. We're doing a family reunion, and I'm excited to be with you for the next 55 minutes. And I'd love your participation and comments and questions, because this is going to be an hour on what are the different prospecting strategies that you can use, that you can try out to see if there's some that fit you, that can maximize your time and help you really just leverage your ability to do more in this business. If you've been in the business for a few months or a year or two, you've probably found one or two good levers as far as generating business in your real estate, and that is awesome. I think one reason a lot of agents fall out of the business is because one or two of those faucets then turned off. And so my suggestion to you would be to have an open mind and to try multiple of these ideas we'll be talking about, even if you do feel a little uncomfortable. But you might be surprised at either how easy it is, maybe how comfortable it is. And seriously, worst case scenario, let's say you're door knocking and someone gets angry at you and swears at you, off your property. So there's really, there's not a lot to be afraid of. And I know that the more that you do, the more comfortable you'll get it and the better you'll be at it. So to get started, we're going to talk about, let's talk about just the main five. And I'll share my screen here, but what I want to do is I want you to just look at my hand, like as far as, so open houses, cold calling, farming an area, door knocking, for sale by owner, and expired. And there's way more than that, but I'd say those are probably the five traditional ones. Before we start talking about those, first and foremost, I'm a proponent of your database is your business, and you should have all of your data, all your database in one place so that you have the ability to market to those people. And that is where your foundation should be built. And I believe in the future, you can get to the point where it's more hands-off, that because of the good work that you do, and because the clients that work with you, they're like, oh my gosh, like, why would I go with anybody else? Wendell's the champ. He's the man. Like, I don't want to use anybody else. And they refer you time and time again. I promise you, you can get to that point quickly. I know agents that can do that within a year or two, where they're getting plenty of business coming in because of the way that they're interacting with their database. So first and foremost, database. Second is, I don't believe you have enough. You have so much time in a day that I think you'll run out of time to spend with your database. So let's say you have 100 or 200 people in there. You can only call them so much, right? And so let's say you spend time in the morning working on your database, getting better systems, delivering gifts or whatever, or a pop by, a gift at work, or, planning an event, post-COVID type event. Now what do you do, right? You have 4 or 5 more hours in the day before, things really close down. And here's where I think prospecting really picks up as far as what you can do. So as far as open houses, I'd love to get your thoughts on what you have seen has been a good open house. And I'm going to share my screen, and let's take some notes. I want to talk about open houses for a minute, and then we'll move on to the next one. So if you'll go off mute. Oh, and let me just remind you again quickly about CE as far as like getting the credit. So I'll share 3 keywords throughout this hour, and just make sure that you write those down and that you email Mike at silverbackhw.com. I'll show that here at the end, but that's how we'll do that. So we'll do 3 keywords, and the first keyword I'm going to share right away is plan. So planning. So yeah, the word is plan, but planning what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. If you think, and I don't know if you're like me, but if this is how I work, if I don't have it on my schedule and all of a sudden I have an hour or 2 free, guess what my default is to not do? prospect. And if you're an agent, maybe you're the same. And so just having it on a schedule, having it on your calendar, having it so you're consistently doing it either every day or at a consistent time every day. So when I was on a real estate team, one thing I did was I wanted to find out, as far as like phone calls and door knocking, when are the most effective times to door knock and when are the most effective times to knock or to call. And what I found as far as phone calls, this is from my own data, and I tracked, I think it was 3,000 or 4,000 contacts. And so that would be probably closer to 8,000 to 10,000 actual calls, is people answer the phone more often in the morning before 10:30. And they are usually a little more fresh and kind on the phone. After that, you get less. I think people get more busy with their day, and maybe they've already had a few phone calls, and they're maybe not as likely to answer. And so that's one thing that I've found as far as phone calls. Door knocking, I'd say this is a lot. It really depends on the area, time of day, and even time of year. And so there's areas where you could really knock almost any time and it'd be okay. There's some areas where it might be just best to do it in the afternoon or close to evening. So some of my thoughts on that are, in the summertime, if you're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of families, you probably could knock almost any time of day. Typically, there's someone that's going to be home with the kids and you can talk with them. If you're in a neighborhood where most people work, then later in the afternoon, between 4 and 6 is a good time to door knock. But those are just a couple thoughts on phone calls and door knocking. Let's talk about open houses real quick. So if you'll either go off mute or throw it in the chat, what have you found has been effective as far as getting word out about the open house, getting a lot of people to attend the open house, and then follow up? Give me some of your thoughts. Okay, I think I saw something in the chat. Let's make sure. Facebook neighborhood community groups. Love that. Thanks, Emily. How do you get on that? Are you asking the seller or a neighbor to post that on there? That's what I assume is happening. Facebook signs with balloons. Giveaway at the open house. Okay. Yep. Giveaways are a great way as far as an incentive, right? To draw people, whether it's cookies or maybe it's an Alexa or something along those lines, where you're getting, some activity and engagement online about that. Following up the next day. So can you share with us, is it Lisa or Lisa? Can you share with us about how you do that follow-up? Sorry if I'm picking on you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, usually I just do a sign-in list and I just get their cell phone numbers and I just follow up with them the next day.
I love that. Do you get a good response or engagement with people when you talk with them multiple times?
Sometimes it just depends. I probably need to pick a better time to call.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. Good. Door hangers around the neighborhood 2 to 3 days in advance, handing out flyers. Door knocking. Yeah. So here's one thing I'd love to share about door knocking as it relates to open houses. I think it's really hard to do real estate without that face-to-face. I think on a rare occasion, every once in a while, you'll get lucky and be able to do an out-of-state transaction with somebody. But I'd say the majority of opportunities or times is you're going to be face-to-face with somebody. And so the more opportunities you can be face-to-face with people, the more likely you are to do more business. I know one agent, the way she does open houses is she door knocks the neighborhood twice. So she'll go through the first time, inviting them to the open house, let them know what it is, what's happening, what the price is, square footage, answer any questions they might have. And then she says at the end, as she leaves, she says, yeah, I'll do the open house, and then I'll come back either later that afternoon or the following Monday, and I'll just come and let you know how it went and where we're at. And she told me, she said that she made relationships with people a lot better that second time around because they were expecting her. And, if they open the door, they're going to be a lot more likely to, engage in a conversation that is a little bit more warm than when you just door knock for the first time. So I'd encourage you to try that if you haven't. She's been in the business a while, and that's one thing that she's done quite a bit, and it's been successful. Anything else on open houses? I think there's a lot of things you can do. I should make some of those notes on what some of those, I can spell houses. Is everybody seeing my screen all right? Okay. So open houses, when you door knock, here's my thought and opinion about it. So take it for what it's worth. An open house is, the objective is you want to get either a buyer broker with someone that's looking to buy, right? Or you want to get a listing of someone that wants to sell in the neighborhood. That's the real objective. And sometimes if we have these other things in between, we think, oh, it was successful because I handed out 20 flyers or 50 flyers, or I talked to 20 people. And that's not really the core objective. So if you had a flyer, let's say you have flyers with you as you're walking around, and you're knocking on the door. Let's say you knock on the door and you have this flyer in your hand. Or what do you think people are thinking when they open the door and they see you with a flyer? Anyone want to go off mute and share?
Door sales.
Door sales. Yeah. Yeah, they think, oh, yeah, they're selling something. As you begin to talk, they focus on the paper often. That's what I've seen as you pay attention to their vision. It just drifts to, okay, what's this paper? Why do they have it? Are they going to give it to me? What's on it? And so there can be some distraction about why you have paper with you. And so you maybe even have it in a folder, have it in a bag, maybe just a little bit out of view. But my opinion is you should go for the lead first and foremost, as far as someone thinking of buying and selling first. And then the open house should be the kind of the afterthought. And that's my opinion. So maybe that could sound something like this. And this is one of my favorite scripts. I'll share this right here at the beginning. You can do this in any neighborhood. And a little bit of preface to this. I know a lot of door knocking scripts, and I know a lot of ways about going and finding a buyer seller via door to door. And some of them require having a pamphlet or a flyer or some type of preparation beforehand. And knowing human nature a little bit, I can only speak from my own experience. When I put a barrier between me and that hard thing that I know I have to do that's going to help my business, this wall or this fence or whatever, it's going to create more friction, create more stress, and give me a way out and give me an opportunity to actually not do it, or delay, or do less of it. So my opinion is you should find ways that you can go do those prospecting activities, those lead generation activities, without having a lot of friction and stress about, oh, what do I have to do beforehand so I can actually go and do that? So this is the way that I found that works well. And it's going on the MLS on your app, what are the listings near me? You're not pretending to be the listing agent, and make sure that you never do, but it sounds something like this. You knock on the door. Hey, my name's Jason with Presidio. Do you know Tom and Diane? They just listed their house, just over here in your neighborhood a week ago. And then just pause and let them respond to that. They don't know exactly why you're there. Exactly. They probably think, oh, it has something to do with selling a house, has something to do with, oh, Tom and Diane. They could think that maybe you're the listing agent because you know Tom and Diane. That information it's public record. You can often find it on the MLS. If you can't, you can find it on the Utah County parcel map or the Salt Lake Salt Lake County parcel map. And so that first question often helps them understand, okay, it might not be door to door. He's not selling me solar or pest control, those other ones.
Jason,
And go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, but I could not find Salt Lake County parcel map. And if you can go on the search, it's all private, I think. Just a hit.
Can you see my screen? Salt Lake. It is, I think I got to type in county actually.
Salt Lake Counties is not as user-friendly as Utah
Right.
County.
It is not as good as Utah counties. Davis is almost as good as Utah counties is really great. So
But
yeah, you can often just type in.
What about the Salt Lake County?
Here's the one. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I do, but okay.
Yeah, so you can type in the address, if you're looking up the name of a seller. So this is a good resource, or the Utah County one. Let me pull that one up real quick if you haven't seen it. So the rest of that script, respond. It really doesn't matter if they say yes or no, if they know Tom and Diane, their neighbor. It's more of a way to just start a conversation with someone. And then I followed up with, yeah, they listed their home. I'm going around to see if I can find someone that might want to buy this house. Do you know anybody that would want to move into this neighborhood? Maybe a friend or family member? And it's very simple. You're trying to find someone that might want to buy that house. And I'll tell you, it's very rare that you will find someone that does know someone. I mean, there are people that know who want to live in the neighborhood, and so you're trying to find those people. But it's the most rare type of lead that you're finding. And so they typically will just say, no, I can't think of anyone. And then follow it up with, if you feel like, the conversation is going well, or if they're willing to engage. And that's one thing, when you door knock for a while, I know usually within 3 to 4 seconds when they open the door, if we're going to have a conversation or not. And to be honest, there's a little bit of, I don't have a lot of humanity. I do. I have humanity, guys. Sometimes I just think, oh, this isn't going to go anywhere, and I just want to turn around and walk away. But I don't do it. I finish the conversation. So I let them respond to that. I don't know anyone that would want to buy in this neighborhood. And then I asked the final question, or 2 final questions. You considered selling? Are you guys living here forever? Is this your forever home? Something like that, that's direct about them specifically. Have you thought about selling? And then finally, who do you know that might be thinking about selling here in the summer and fall? So you get a few questions in there, and within an hour, I'll tell you, I've done this so many times, but within an hour, you should find 1 or 2 pretty good leads in most neighborhoods. I'd usually keep it under, 500,000 as far as, the price point of that home. But those are a few ideas. That's one script I really love, because you can do it in nearly every neighborhood, and you don't have to know a lot about what's happening in the neighborhood. Sometimes they might ask, oh, well, what's the square footage, of Tom and Dan? What Tom and Dan, what are they selling it for? So it'd be good just to know, oh yeah, 319. Yeah, they listed it 319. And if you, have a few seconds, you can look at square footage and beds, bath, so that you can speak to it a little intelligently. The one thing I would say really importantly about that is, don't ever pretend like you're the listing agent. If you can get in trouble for that, obviously. But yeah, no one knows about how buyers are found. And so, I have seen buyer leads come of that, but I'd say it's probably more along 20% of the leads you get would be buyer leads. And then, 70 to 80% would be the seller leads, where it's someone that, oh yeah, we're thinking of selling, or yeah, oh, they're thinking of selling. or you know what? They're actually going through a divorce, and I know that they're probably thinking of selling their house. You know, you come across people that are just gabbing away, flapping their gums and sharing all the information about the neighborhood. But I'll tell you, I really enjoy door knocking, and you get to know people, you get to know neighborhoods, and I do not recommend, unless you have like crazy good discipline, door knocking for more than 2 hours at a time. You get burnt out, you get tired, your energy gets really low, and I think it will negatively impact how you show up at the door. And so I'll tell you this, as far as door knocking goes, and then as it relates to open houses, do it for an hour and be fresh and be done. And then maybe tomorrow, if you didn't finish it, come back and just do some more. But don't burn yourself out so much. I've heard this countless times from agents where, oh yeah, I remember one spring I did it, and I did it every day for like 6 hours a day, and I haven't done it since. So you really can burn yourself out. But just being consistent and finding the ways as far as like talking with people and overcoming objections. So we'll come to that here in a minute about overcoming objections, but let's wrap up open houses and maybe move to the next one. Does anyone have any other thoughts or questions about open houses? I love the idea about balloons and signage. I know some agents that do, 5 to 10 or signs in the neighborhood. I know some agents that do 20. It takes a lot of time to get those set up, but more avenues as far as like, all roads lead to Rome, and you're establishing yourself as Rome. Thoughts on that, open houses or questions? Okay. There's a lot of different opinions on having a database of people you don't know. So I'll come back in a minute. Let's move on to cold calling. Then we'll do door knocking. I have like way too many thoughts about door knocking, guys. Second keyword, let's do that one. Second keyword, pay attention. Hope everybody's still there and listening. Second keyword is energy. So just having a good energy when you prospect. I'd love for you to try this, calling people from a sitting position, and then do it for an hour from a standing position, and pay attention to your own energy. And maybe you'll notice that you do have higher energy as you stand up. This is a rare time when I can actually teach when I'm sitting. It's actually hard for me. I think I saw something in the chat. Let's see what we got. Oh, Steve, yeah. So there'll be one more keyword. I'll share this at the very end. It's open houses. Having a good flyer template, I think, is important. Something that you, maybe even talk to Mike about that. I don't want to share because I can't talk about our business at all. But having a good flyer template, that way you can easily plug in 3 or 4 pictures, new address, and then maybe just a blurb on the house, square footage, and a little bit about it. That way you're not having to recreate, the wheel every time you do an open house. So you probably have something like that. A good resource that I love, you don't have to be like a crazy good marketer, but here's one that I love that we do some of our stuff. But canva.com, awesome resource. They have good fonts, good layouts, good images and icons. There's some things that are all that's free. They have some paid things as well. So let's move on to cold calling. Anybody love cold calling? Seriously, if someone is on this call that loves cold calling, I want to hear from you right now, please. Anybody? Someone? I heard a cough. Okay, I don't fault anyone for not loving cold calling. It's not the easiest activity. You have to go to a special place in your brain that is, it doesn't matter what people say, I'm just going to get through these. And here's how I view it. Like, imagine this is a rock. like this phone right here. All you're doing with cold calling, and even like prospecting, right, is just you're turning it over. Are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Are you a seller? Are you a seller? Are you a seller? So if you get that idea in your mind as far as it's quick, it really should be quick. And I don't favor a lot of the scripts that are complicated, that are maybe slightly gray area in the deceiving. They should be very straightforward, in my opinion, and they should be very easy to understand, and they should be to the point as quickly as possible. Not for them, but more for you. You should get to that no as quickly as possible and move on to the next. Get to the no as quickly as possible and move on to the next. Because if you can get through 30 no's, you might get to a yes or a maybe a lot more quickly. Cold calling. Here's some resources, and I have here at the bottom as far as some resources you can use, but I'm going to just jump to these websites to help if you're interested in cold calling. I know an agent who's been in real estate for 7-8 years. He and his wife do it together. She's more database. She nurtures the relationships of their database. He cold calls. From their database, they get between 20 and 30 closings. And then from cold calling, he gets varies between 15 and I think the most I've seen is 30. So, but here is his script. And he said I can share it because, oh my gosh, it's like mind blowing, guys. It goes like this. Hey, my name is Jason. I'm with Presidio Real Estate. I had a great year of selling real estate last year. Have you guys ever considered selling your home? Oh, you haven't? You know someone who's thinking of selling? Oh, you haven't? Okay, thanks. Bye. Do you want me to do it again? So simple. It's so basic. I had a great year of selling real estate. Have you considered selling your home? Who do you know that's thinking of selling their home? Or you could say, who do you know that's thinking of selling their home this summer or this fall? And it's just so quick. You just get to the no as quickly as possible. And then you do find people pretty quickly that are willing to either talk about their own home. Oh yeah, we've lived here forever. We were thinking of selling a couple of years ago, but blah, 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 blah. And you just engage. Just engage. Oh yeah, why would you want to sell? Just get to those motives. Why do you want to sell? Where do you need to go to? Oh, when do you need to be there by? Just some of those qualifying questions that help you understand why do they want to sell and how can you help them get to where they're going. I know a lady in Bountiful, she lived in this condo for like 20 years and she doesn't like living up there. She drives to Utah County almost every day because she teaches piano. And this agent helped her sell her home because she didn't know the process and she didn't think she had enough equity. So there's a lot of unknowns. And so getting into those really helps you get there. Here's some other resources. So you obviously can just cold call manually, one number at a time. Cole Realty. I think I've got that pulled up here somewhere. Maybe I don't. I have it down here anyway. Cole Realty. It's kind of a paid thing that you can type in an address and you can get a half a mile, 1 mile, 2 mile radius of all of the phone numbers in that area. I recommend upgrading to the cell one because the one that you get on the basic package is just the landlines, and the cell numbers, I promise you it's worth that much more going above and beyond getting those cell numbers. So that's a good resource. Another one is Remine. If you haven't used Remine, oh my goodness, guys. So it's a really great tool. So it's accessed through the MLS. So here's the homepage. It's over here on the left navigation. If you haven't been in there, it's just pops open another page and then you can type in an address. So earlier, just preparation for this class, I was pulling up, just expireds. Let's talk about it now. So if you haven't pulled up expireds, it's so simple, under status, and then I'd probably even do a date range as far as number of days back. So here's a couple ways you could do this. As far as 30 days back, I want to know every listing that is expired in the last 30 days. Hopefully, you know, like why you'd want to talk to someone that expired. If we're for sale by owner, you know, if they're interested in selling, you want to talk to them. So great. You know, there are strategies that you can do as far as talking to for sale by owners, and they're holding one hand up. Yeah, hey, I want to sell. Expireds, they have two hands up in the air because they want to sell and they want to use an agent. And so they're doubly anxious to work with someone. But here's the thing with expireds. If you don't, you probably know this. Expireds that happen today, you know, that expired yesterday, they're probably getting 10 to 15 phone calls a day for the next 7 days from real estate agents that really, that's just their business, is they call those expireds and hound them. What I found is you can go after that group. You really can. And if you're persistent and you use good scripts, you'll get business from that group. Another thing you could do is, well, let me talk to some people that, you know, were listings from 60 days ago to 90 days ago. So you can see on my screen, I typed that in and it popped up. Here's some 10 results. And then you can just even hone it in by city if you want. And so Remind, when you find a city or if you find an address and you know that's expired, there's a couple of things you can do. You can drive there and you can door knock it. I recommend you have a list of maybe 10 homes, no less than 10 is my recommendation, as far as, okay, there's 10 homes in Saratoga Springs that expired in the last, 30 days. I have them on my map. I'm just going to go hit them all up this morning. I'm just going to go knock on their door and go talk to them. If you just do one or two, it's not probably a good use of your time. Remind is the other way of how you can contact somebody. And I am going to have to reload this page because it just kicked me out. Remind allows you to, I think for $2, you can buy contact info of a specific house. So that's kind of cool. Another resource for cold calling, Mojo. Anybody used a dialer before? The way these work, you can have one line dialing for you, 2 or 3. So you upload a list and all of a sudden you have 3 numbers dialed all at the same time, and it's going to connect you with the one that answers first. And so sometimes 2 are going to answer at the same exact time. What it does is it's going to leave a drop message to one person, and it's going to let you talk to this person. As soon as you're done talking to this person, it will call this other person back. So you honestly can get through, the most I've seen in an hour is 40, 45 contacts in an hour. So you can talk to a lot of people in a short amount of time. So any thoughts or comments on cold calling? Okay.
Jason, what was the name of that site again?
Cold Realty or Remind?
I know Remind is on the MLS, the other one. Say that again.
It's Mojo.
Pardon?
Oh, and Mojo?
Mojo, thank you.
Yeah. Here's a little bit more study. Here's a little bit more as far as analysis of, there's different numbers. So here's kind of the top companies that are providing expired, for sell by owner, and even some circle calling numbers. So Mojo, Land Voice, Vulcan 7. I've used all of those, and I've been on a team that has used all of those. And as far as expired and for sale by owner data, from what I've seen, Vulcan 7 has provided the most accurate information. There have been times when with some of these other ones, I'm not getting paid. Obviously, I don't have any relationship with Vulcan 7. I'm just sharing that as far as like testing that I've seen that has worked. So with these other ones, sometimes you get either a wrong number or the listing agent's number got mixed in there somehow. So there's that. Okay, door knocking. Any comments? I don't want to just keep flapping my gums this whole time. We have about 10 to 15 minutes left, and I'm just debating if I want to cruise through a little bit of this before we end. Some things that I've seen that worked really well. So let me please, and jump off mute, or if you want to jump on chat, if you have something to share or ask a question, please do that. Prospecting, there's two main approaches to how you prospect and what you're going to do with any information. Let's say you're door knocking. I know some agents that they're trying to get their name, their email, and their phone at every single door. And so that's one approach. And then they enter them into their database, and then they drip on them, continually. I tend to be more of the mind of prospecting is the now business. I'm looking for business of someone that's looking to buy or sell right now, or in the next 3 months. And then even that like time frame, like I don't want you to even just say, oh, they're 4 months out. Like I don't want to get their number, but did you have a really good connection with them? Were they being sincere? Did you feel like, oh, like I could really nurture this, even if they're 6 months out or even a year out? So it's all just gauging it off of how the quality of conversation that you had with somebody. But in my opinion, the prospecting activity should be, I'm looking for business right now. Who's looking to buy and sell? I was knocking doors with an agent. It was last spring, and this guy answers the door, and he appeared Polynesian, and he was sharing about, I shared my script, and the agent I was with, she just wanted me to talk the whole time. She didn't feel comfortable talking, and so I did my script, and he's like, oh yeah, we're looking to buy right now. We were looking at houses with this agent. And I asked, oh, you're looking at houses. So yeah, do you have a buyer broker? Have you signed something with that agent? And he said, no, we haven't signed anything. In fact, she's been kind of hard to get a hold of because we wanted to go look at something last weekend, but she wasn't available. And here's where I inserted myself a little bit, because if they haven't signed something with another agent, I think there's an opportunity. And Steve or Yvonne, someone correct me if I'm off base here, Jen. But what I said was, oh, this agent, she would go show you houses today if you're interested. She's that dedicated. Look at her. She's here out knocking doors, getting business. She's the kind of agent you'd want to work with anyway. And so I said that, and then they talked for a minute, and he ended up like, yeah, we're looking in this area. We're looking at this price point. And she shared, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that area. And they got contact information, and she ended up showing him houses and got a buyer broker and ended up selling or buying a house with him. So as long as someone isn't, if there isn't a buyer broker, I think there's that opportunity. As far as some barriers when you're door knocking, it's rather simple, in my opinion. You're either looking at the person at the door, trying to get a connection with them. Are they interested in selling? Or is it someone that they know? And then that's it. And I would ask for a phone number and even an appointment. So there was an agent he was a newer agent I was knocking doors with last spring, and we were knocking on this house, and they were like, oh yeah, we're actually moving to Texas in 2 months. And we had an agent come by and give us a listing presentation. We're going to go with her. And I asked if they'd signed something, and they hadn't. And so I asked, hey, could we just take a look and see, as far as like what it looks like, and we could give you our price point of what this home should sell for in this market. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, come on in. And so we went in, and at this point, I wanted to disengage so that the agent that I was with, that they could make that connection and set up the appointment. This agent was a little newer, and he was okay with just, yeah, here's my card. And yeah, let me know if I can answer any questions for you. And I was like, no, that's not the way to do this. If they have to sell their house in 2 months, like we have to get this listed right now because we have to get this on the market today or tomorrow, like ASAP. Because if they're gonna move in June, it has to be sold right now. And so I kind of inserted myself and said, yeah, this is great. Like let's get your phone number and an email. We'll send you over that information. And could we come over and share a listing presentation, tomorrow night, and just get our ducks in a row, just so that we can give you a good indicator as far as like what the market's doing in your neighborhood. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, come on over. We won't take more than just 30 minutes. And so when you have a fish on the line, you should as best you can set that appointment or take the listing right then if you're prepared, if you feel like they're ready for it. So here's a couple things as far as closing. So we didn't talk about for sale by owners, and I wanted to share one more resource that I can email the group. And if there's any final thoughts. So here is, let me get zoom in. Can you see my screen? So 100 lead sources. So one that I can send this to the group, but one that I wanted to focus on is 2. First one, referral exchange. You can get on there for free. You can put your contact info on there and narrow in specifically what is your service area. And guess what? There are agents in the state of Utah that don't want to service in a specific area because it's too far for them, or even out of state. If someone's coming in and they're going to go to school, or their kids are going to go to school, they need a resource. And this is one of those tools that you can get on and at least share your contact info. And the team I was on, we had 2 to 3 closings a month from this one source. And so it does require you to input information. And so the more listings you have, the more closings you have, the better it looks. Another one I want to share here at the end, as far as, and then I'll just about prospecting plan, is the idea of these other agents. So Jen shared, guess what? Presidio, you guys have brokerages in many other locations, and in the future, many other locations. And I'd recommend you take advantage of those other offices as well and getting to know them. And so joining them via Zoom might be a good idea. Another one would be taking other agents out to lunch would be a good idea. I know an agent that lives in Draper, and for whatever reason, he started his business like 7 or 8 years ago. And he had a listing or 2 like up in Ogden, and he serviced those. He did a good job. He got referrals from those listings. And then in the brokerage he was at, other agents found out, oh, that guy, he services up in Ogden. I don't want to go up there. And they live in Salt Lake. And so I pulled up his listings, I think it was last month, and he had 4 listings up in Ogden. But he's willing to drive that far. He's willing to do the business up in that area. And so what I'd recommend as far as a prospecting activity would be get to know other agents that are not in your area. Maybe down in St. George, Cedar City, maybe in Richfield, call Angie. Maybe in Salt Lake or Davis and Weber. Get to know agents that are doing well in that area. And I'd recommend that are doing well. Agents that are doing 1 to 2 transactions are likely not going to come across referral or lead that they could send to you. Ones that are doing 10 or more, way more likely. And so maybe that should be your filter as far as finding agents that are up further north or further south. Call them up, get to know them, share with them what you're doing and why you'd be a good referral partner. And then say, hey, I'll put you down as well. I don't want to service up in Ogden or Davis. And so I'd love to have a good relationship and a connection with someone. If you really want to go above and beyond, go take them to lunch so you get to know them. Potentially they would take that as far as just building the relationship. And so if they don't have your number saved in their phone, or if they don't hear from you on a regular basis. And so part of that might be just having a specific campaign that maybe it's once a quarter you send an email to those referral partners And I honestly know agents that have, 50 to 80 closings, and they're not doing anything other than prospecting to other agents. And they just get referrals from those. So what about new construction? There's agents that are in that space that don't want to do any resale. Good place to start there as well. Last keyword I'm going to share, and then I'm going to close. So the last keyword is consistent. Consistent. Imagine if you prospect once a month or less, you're likely to not get much done or get much business from that. If you do an hour a day, maybe just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 3 days a week, you will get closings from 3 days a week, prospecting just an hour. If and what you say, and here's kind of how I'll close, is what you say is important, but I'd say how you say it is more important. That you have to believe what you're saying, that the energy that you bring to the door, to the phone, matches and is positive and uplifting. People don't want to talk to someone that looks shady or sounds shady or has their hands in their pockets if you're at the door. They don't know what they're getting into, and so the best you can, as far as putting yourself in their shoes, will help you frame what you're saying. And one of the best activities I did to help get my scripts up to par, where I was getting 1 to 2 leads an hour, was on the phone. I'd have someone listen to me and then we'd talk. When I was at the door, I would record, 1 to 2 every single time I prospected, and then I would listen to it in the car as I drove home. Because what that did was it gave me just a rehash in my mind. Because when you're thinking on the fly, it's often hard to be able to evaluate, oh, I wonder if I'd said this, if that would have gone better. And so it's that evaluation period and that feedback loop that you need that's going to get you, oh, you know what, I said that and it didn't sound, I don't think that came across the way that I wanted it to. When I said that, I think maybe that really turned them off, and then they said that after that. And so going back and listening to what you said and even what they said, I think will help you just hone and just sharpen that axe just better and better. So you overcome those objections. And that's what I find is there's only about 10 objections, and I wish we had more time to go over all of those, but there's only about 10 objections that when you learn to overcome those, you can continue the conversation and it just doesn't dead end. Sometimes, when they say, oh yeah, my husband's not home, he's the one that makes the decision, so yeah, now's not a good time. It's easy just to say, oh, okay, yeah, bye, and then just finish it. But there's a lot more vetting, there's a lot more qualifying that you can do, even if you do need to come back later and have the conversation with all of the parties that are involved. So I would continue to qualify and asking those questions. So recording yourself will help you hear those barriers or those objections that they share and how you responded to them. And most likely you're going to be terrible at overcoming those objections at first. But the thing that will help you overcome them the most quickly is listening to them later. Because what happens is when you're in a conversation, there's all this back and forth that happens. 5 minutes goes by, and then you leave, and then you remember maybe 10 to 20% of what happened and the feeling that you had in that moment. But if you record it, so much of that is preserved. So I really, really, really recommend that if you do any door knocking, is to just try that out. And then you learn from it what you will. But just having that mindset of growth, that I'm going to get good at this as quickly as possible, because if I'm terrible and I do it for a month, that's just a lot of wasted time. Or maybe even just having another agent go with you or share with, here, listen to this. Would you mind listening to this and getting their feedback? I believe that will improve your game. So prospecting is a game, and it's super fun. I love it. And I know that there's a lot of agents out there, and there's plenty of business. And as you think about the stages from here's the beginning, when someone's thinking, oh yeah, we're thinking of selling, and over here, we're gonna actually list our house on the market. And let's say there's 10 stages. At what point do you think most people engage or involve in a real estate agent? Beginning, middle, towards the end? It's a lot often towards the end. And so there is, the way I see it is, there's this opportunity here where they haven't decided who they're going with. And, wintertime, I love this. I'm a huge fan of knocking doors in the winter, from like January to April, and even through the summer. But January through April, people are thinking about selling. They haven't made up their mind about when and even who often. And so that opportunity to connect with them and to find them in this period goes way, way up when you are the one that's going out there and you're hunting. So you're hunting down the business versus, farming and doing the database. So thank you so much for your comments and thoughts. I hope there was something that you were able to take away from this prospecting. The CE class, I'd encourage you to put together a plan, to block it out on your calendar. That is the thing that will kill you, I promise. If you have any desires or thoughts about it, that you need a little push or a little nudge or whatever, give me a call, shoot me a text. Here's those resources. So MLS, Remine, KSL, we didn't get to talk about FSBOs, and Mojo Co-Realty Resource. So please email Mike those, and please go ahead.
Can you put your name and number so we can contact you?
You bet. I'll put that in the chat. Let me see. Here it is. Okay. Here's my email. Here is my phone number. So, prospecting. I am going to invite you all to go get out of your comfort zone and try at least one of these prospecting activities in this coming week. Anyone willing to raise their hand and say, I will do it? Anyone? Yes. Yes. Awesome. Yvonne, Kim, wonderful. Okay. Here's Mike's email again. Not Ross. Mike at silverbackhw.com. Email him those 3 keywords, and we will get you that CE credit banked in the next 2 days, likely. So, any final thoughts before we sign off? Awesome. Okay, thanks, gang. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you soon. Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot for the class. This is Mel Osborne down in St. George. I don't know how many agents were on today from Southern Utah, but if you ever need anything down here, please get in contact with me. But appreciate the class today.
Awesome. Thanks so much.